Julia, I have a limerick for you.
God, I love limericks.
There once was a woman named Child who made sausages spicy and mild. Those tubular treats, stuffed with mystery meat, made her friend and relation go wild.
That's a wonderful one. Oddly enough, I have one for you, Jacques.
Oh, good.
There once was a young man from Lyon whose knife work was exceedingly bon. His charcuterie was something to see, and the sausages weren't bad either.
Well, today we're going to show you how to stuff sausages and how to make pâté.
In your own kitchen.
Happy cooking!
Bon appetit. This is going to be an all-purpose sausage mixture for stuffing into cases or making into pâtés.
We have this one, that you can buy at the market. This is beautiful. This is done with beef middle. I mean, it's about 2.5 inches.
Yeah.
But it's quite pricey. When you do it this way, I tell you, it's very inexpensive.
Yeah.
It has to be well seasoned, so we put 2.5 teaspoons of salt.
And this is 1.5 pounds of ground pork.
Exactly, yes.
What did we say? It was
About 3/4 teaspoon of ground black pepper.
Yeah.
I'm giving you a pinch of sugar, like half a teaspoon of sugar.
All
and I'm
right.
giving you a little pinch here of potassium nitrate. This is saltpeter. And if you don't want to put it, it's fine, but you won't have the nice, beautiful red, that you have in a frankfurter and pastrami and corned beef and so forth,
I think it's slightly a preservative.
Yes, it does, yes. So you're putting
that everything?
white wine.
I want to put in 2 tablespoons of
About,
pignoli's.
Pine nuts, yes.
I'm going to put in a tiny bit more because that's nicer. We're going to do two truffles.
Oh, good.
We're going to make them julienne.
All right. So,
And these are very,
those are the black truffle.
very expensive. I thought I was supposed to julienne them. Well,
Yeah, that's what I did.
That's chopped. You didn't julienne
Okay.
them. I'm trying to follow your recipe.
This is your recipe now. My recipe is there. So in my recipe now, I'm putting a couple of tablespoons of red wine in mine. It's more of a country, a bit more assertive taste, I have basically the same salt, pepper, and so forth. And I'm putting about 2-3 tablespoons of pecan, coarsely chopped. You could have pistachio, you could have walnut, in there, it'd be fine. And you could have no nuts at all, it's fine also. And inside, I'm putting a little clove of garlic, which you want to crush.
If you're
And
making
chop.
a big batch, you can certainly do this in your big, heavy-duty mixer.
So a very fine puree of garlic. That's it.
And now we're going to taste it and see how it is, because you want to make sure that you have enough seasoning in it.
Yes. And you're going to taste
We're going to
the mixture.
Just going to taste
Well,
it.
during that time, I wanted to show you the casing. This is a casing who usually come in salt. This has to be put in water, as I did here, and you should run it under the faucet, and this is what I'm going to do here. What happened here, as you can see your sausage, you want to fill it up to wash the inside as well as the outside and soak it in water. And you can see the side of this one, which is about 1.5 inches, kind of transparent. So you wash the inside this way, can soak it out in water again, and then it's basically ready to use at that point. How is the meat doing? Good?
Just getting it to turn over. It smells good.
And we're going to use those strange-looking sausage stuffer, you know. This is an oldie. I haven't seen
very
this
old.
one. Yes, my gosh, look at this one. It's a very simple thing. It's a funnel, you know, which goes into this, and you, of course, fix it up to the end.
And you don't have to have one of these at all, but
And then push
it's
the
more
meat
fun.
in it, right?
Now we're going to taste this, Jacques.
Okay. It's good. It's slightly over seasoned, which is the way it was by the time it's going to be mixed, either with the potato salad and cured and so forth.
We're going to use the modern stuffer here
Yes.
with my
Put it into that
impeccably
plastic.
clean hands.
That's
You
good.
really have to get yourself into sausage making. If you try to use spoons and things, it's very difficult, I think.
So what happened after you want to put it this way?
Two more truffles in
More
there.
truffle, okay. And start cranking it this way. And at that point, you have to insert, of course, the opening of your sausage
It's
there.
very important that it be wet or you're going to have trouble slipping
absolutely.
it on.
You can put quite a lot. However,
So
that's
this
the only
machine
thing.
is expensive. That other one that was just a handheld. Or you could use a pastry bag.
Here we are, sausage coming
That's
out
really
of it.
wonderful.
Yes, isn't it? That's it, that basically. And then after you can do your link of sausage by folding it in this way. And again. But I think that for the people who want to do it maybe in an easier way, we're going to show them a way by hand, right?
Good.
So what I have, I'm going to do this one this way. I put aluminum foil as well as parchment paper. And here we're going to
Now this is
Form a
would be
sausage,
useful to see.
form a sausage. I mean, it's very easy. You just form the
Of course,
sausage by
you could
hand.
just make these into little pâtés and saute them individually.
What you would want to do at that point, this has to be cured for at least 3 days, you know, under refrigeration. And it
Yeah.
will develop the taste and the color that you want. So you press it into a sausage, and at that point would be like the store-bought sausage that we show you, which is about 2.5 inches thickness, you know. So you can form it this way, you know, into a nice sausage. So you do it first in this, and that can cure right in there for a couple of days. You know?
In the fridge.
Yes. So let's pretend that now it's been curing for several days, and we put it to cook in a water which is about the right temperature, right?
And that's about 180 or at the simmer.
And at that point, you would put that directly this way to poach it in there. It has to have enough water to be immersed, and I use a lid to put on top of it to apply it so that it stays under the water. And it has to poach at that temperature for about 35, 40 minutes, depending on the size of your sausage. You know?
Good. Now we're going to make a sausage in brioche crust. The brioche is an egg dough. It makes a very nice bread and it makes a very nice crust. And this the yeast thing. So I have dry active yeast. I have one package in here that's slightly less than a tablespoon. So you want 3 tablespoons of water.
3 tablespoons of water in there, okay. The water cold or lukewarm?
Lukewarm.
The tap, yes.
And then we want a nice pinch of sugar, which will help it work, and a little pinch of flour. Just take
Pinch
some
of flour,
from there.
good, okay. And
And
then,
then we're going to let it
you want
stir
to
it
mix
up.
it.
And this is how it looks. This is, you know, when it's foamed up just like that, you know that his is ready to go.
Yes.
I think it's awful you get it all made and the dough hasn't risen, and it's because the yeast was killed by hot water or something.
This has a wonderful aroma of yeast. You can really see it working here. Okay.
And now we want 3.5 cups of flour. And the way I measure flour, my recipes are always, you dip the cup into the flour until it's overflowing, level it off, and you don't press it down, because if you tap it down, you could add a whole other tablespoon of flour and your measurements would be off. So there are 3.5 cups of flour in here, and 1.5 teaspoons regular table salt.
Okay, so here you are.
And then we have 1.5 sticks of chilled butter. That and the flour are going to blend together We want butter broken up into rough granules. Let's turn it off now and take a look.
That's perfect.
Just check it. See, they're just very small pieces of butter in there.
That's good.
And now we want 4 eggs and 1/3 cup of milk. And then that's going to dribble into
What
here.
about the yeast? You want to put it in there?
Yes, that can go in there
In
too.
there also? Okay. So hold the yeast, of course. You want to beat that up a bit?
Mm-hmm.
Good. You put it on?
Full blast.
Full blast, okay. Here we are.
Take a look at it.
Good.
That seems pretty good, I think.
Yes, I think it looks terrific.
Mm-hmm.
You just have that type of elasticity that you need to.
Yeah.
And so now we're ready to take it out.
Mm-hmm.
Huh? Okay.
We'll put it in this bowl.
All right.
I have some that's already risen. So I like to give 2 rises because I think it gives more body to the dough and more flavor. But then in any case, it needs deflating. And this is not what they call punch down. It's really flattened.
Oh, you crush the air out of it by flattening it.
Yeah, and then you turn it. And that redistributes the yeast for the second rise. At about 75 degrees, it'll probably take an hour and a half to 2 hours.
A couple of hours, right?
And then we have one fully risen for you, Jacques.
Here is the dough. It's flattened now.
Looks nice.
And here is the sausage. Can you undo that for me?
So this sausage is raw, and it's going to cook in its brioche crust.
Yeah. So we're going to press the brioche. It should be
There you
about
are.
rectangular, you know.
That looks nice. Smells good.
So you want to put, that smells good. You want to put that sausage on top of,
I'll let you put it on, because you
yeah,
know.
go ahead, right in the middle. Beautiful with the truffle and all
lovely.
that.
That looks
Now you know
delicious.
what I do here, which
And
is,
this is how thick would you say? It's
oh,
about
I would say it's a
quarter of
good,
an inch.
it's a good half inch. I
About
think it's
3/8 inch, maybe.
Okay, 3/8 inch. All right. So here you put a little bit of flour on top of it, and this actually is to make the brioche stick to the sausage. So we press it this way here. I need an egg to wash it.
That will
make it
stick it
stick.
together,
Yeah. Here we are. And then the other side should kind of overlap. And then the end of it, you can, if you want, press it a little bit this way to extend it. Can we brush
This makes an
one?
awfully nice dish for cocktails or
Yes.
a lovely summer lunch with a
Uh-huh.
nice salad.
This one here. Here we are. So it is thicker on the bottom now, so you want to turn it upside down because it's going to sink a little bit as it proof, you know. I think we'll put it
Okay,
there.
this is going to proof again.
Yeah, this has to proof.
Oh, of course it
Now
does,
here.
because it's the yeast dough.
So we have a nice brioche
That looks
this
very
way.
nice.
So we can brush it now again with the egg wash.
It makes a lot of difference to give a nice shiny crust.
We can mark the top, you know, if you want, with the back of a knife. Give a little bit of a design this way. And maybe we do a couple of chimney, right?
Yes, it has to, otherwise it'd be steaming when it baked.
Right. And what I like to put is a piece of aluminum foil around, you know, to
good
hold
idea.
it while it's cooking this way.
Keep its shape.
Yes, at least at the beginning. And I think I put a piece of string holding it a little bit. And this has to proof again now.
That'll be about an hour and a half.
About an hour, yes. But for the time being, I have one which is kind of
Oh, good.
proofed, you know.
Good. Now, how do we
proofs a
know
little
that
bit.
it's proofed enough?
Well, you can smell it to start with. I'm going to put a little bit of this on top and put it back in the oven. What I like to put on top is a bit of breadcrumb also. Give a
I'll brown it nicely.
nice look, yes.
And then I think you can tell by feeling also.
Yeah, that is pretty soft. Spongy and soft, you know.
Yes.
So shall we put it in the oven
Okay.
for 375 degrees, and that will take a good 45 minutes about. Okay, and what we'll do after about 15-20 minutes of cooking, we can take that piece of aluminum foil around. By then it will hold its shape.
Now we're going to do a pâté. This is a very festive type of French meatloaf, but it has wine and other things in it, and a variety of meats. But if you think of it as a meatloaf, then you won't be afraid of it, will you?
Yes, and it's very expensive when you buy that into specialty store. It costs a little fortune. So we're going to show you how to make it very easily. This is ground pork, and the ground pork will have a little more fat than we will have in the sausage, because with that we're putting a very lean ground veal, you know. And of course, if you don't have veal, and Julia,
you could use ground turkey.
Ground turkey would do something similar to this. So this
That's
is
about 3/4 of a pound each of veal or turkey that's ground.
Right. We have about 2.5 pounds of meat. So in there we have the salt and pepper, just to it. We have chopped shallots.
You got about 1/3 of a cup of them, haven't you?
We have a bit of chopped garlic. And we have some dry mushroom in it, and those are porcini in Italian, what we call cèpe in France, which are a dry wild mushroom, which is very strong. And I put it dry because the meat has to marinate several days, so they are going to reconstitute. We put some pistachio in there for color as well as taste.
The proportions aren't of great importance.
Cognac.
Must be the same proportions that we use for the sausage meat.
A couple of tablespoons of cognac, and I need some of your white wine over there.
There's a little white wine.
Thank you. About, I would say, 1/3 of a cup of white wine at least. And then in this, now it's highly seasoned, I have some chicken liver, and in those chicken liver, a dash of salt and pepper, and a bit of cognac on top of it. And Julia is doing little strip of very lean veal and ham, yes. So now,
the reason for the strips is we're going to mold this into a loaf shape, and then when you cut it across, you'll see these nice pieces of veal and ham.
sometimes you can put an egg in it, some people do, sometimes a little bit of starch. This has to marinate or macerate at least 48 hours to 3 days, you know. And I also put a little pinch of saltpeter again in there to get the right color, yes. Oh, and I have my seasoning here that I almost forgot, and that I put that into a little coffee grinder, and I have a couple of bay leaf in it, I have some clove, I have allspice, and fresh thyme. That, of course, will give you a lot of taste. This is the secret seasoning ingredient, and then you can express yourself in that way, because from cumin to anything you want, you can work out your allspice, you know. Now, you can cook that into a loaf like this. This is a pâté mold cast iron.
Or you can use a bread pan.
Yes, and you can line it up or not line it up with what we have here. This is called cold fat.
You could get this in an Italian butcher shop, or you can have your butcher order it.
Yes.
Or just not use it because it isn't necessary, but it's kind of fun to have.
And CAUL, that's the cold fat. And
it's the membrane that holds all the pig's inner organs.
So, this could be marinated in the mold itself or outside. So what we do, we're going to do layer here. You want to put some of your strip of veal as well.
I'll alternate with veal and ham.
So I put a small layer again on top, and in the middle of that, Julia, we're going to put the chicken liver here.
That'll be nice.
And on each side, we can put
on each side we
more
can
of this.
Put a bit of ham there.
That's it. So a pâté is really a question of having a good recipe, and it's an assembling procedure, but it's not particularly difficult to do. More of our meatloaf on top. I mean, a pâté like that, big party. I usually always do pâté around the Christmas time. And when I have a couple of pâté I do at home, when I grind it, I do 2 pâté, and I use it during the holiday because you can keep it for, of course, like a week and a half in your refrigerator, slice it, and it does a lot of party around that time, you know. I put a little more of that on top. There's some ham maybe in the middle. And I finish with the rest of the meat here, which I'm going to spread on top.
It looks like so much meat, but it fits very nicely in, doesn't it?
Yes, yes. And then finally, you want to bring back your beautiful lacy.
Which is beautiful, isn't
yes,
it?
Yes, it is. And maybe the finished touch on top, I put a couple of bay leaf.
That's
like that.
always a nice touch, I think.
And maybe a bit of dry thyme, you know. This, of course, you wouldn't want to cook it now. I said you let it marinate a few days. You put that, of course, in the double boiler. Because that has to cook. One of the secrets of pâté.
This is a double boiler, bain-marie.
In the seasoning, it has to be well seasoned. The second one, the amount of fat, it has to have a certain amount of fat to really. And the secondly, to cook it slowly a long time. If you cook it too fast, the whole fat melts.
Yeah.
And you change the whole texture. You know?
Cover the terrine tightly with a double thickness of foil, and then off it goes to a preheated 325-degree oven. Bake it for about 1 hour and 3/4 until your meat thermometer reads 155 degrees. Now here's one that's all ready to eat. It's cool and unmolded, and it just smells wonderful.
And as you can see here, I have a beautiful red color of a pâté with the liver in the center of it. And this, of course, has to do with a little bit of the saltpeter. You can see the pistachio in there.
And you can very faintly see
the chicken
livers and the ham and things. But that makes a very pretty slice.
Yes. And this, of course, very often is served. You can have black olives. You can have the cornichon, which is those small French gherkin in vinegar. Yeah, you could put some around this way. That would be.
Put some olives
and you want to put olive on the other side. With this, of course, you can have a good French mustard. A bread.
Bread, yes.
You need a great crunchy type of country bread with that. With a pâté, you have a picnic, you have a dry white wine, you serve it at the table. You can have a Beaujolais, ordinary wine, you can have a more pungent Merlot, Cabernet Sauvignon, anything goes there.
Now here is the star of the sausage, Joe. That's the saucisson en brioche.
Right. The center of it, I mean, look at that. Brioche, you know? Oh boy, I can smell the truffle.
No, this is the same sausage meat we've been seeing. It's just all in different costumes.
Yes. But there, a beautiful brioche like this. Yeah, that would be a first course. I would have a piece like this, yes.
You would.
Now I'm going to cut a little piece just for you and me to taste, yeah? Here, here. I can smell the truffle. They are good.
But it is nice to have the bread with it, I think.
It's delicious.
Good. There, now we'll never have to buy any sausage again. Bon appetit.
Happy cooking.
And here's to you, Jacques. That was a great show.
Thank you for doing it.